All right, so I'm going to kind of bury the lead on what movie it is we're reviewing today, but that's okay. What Indiana Jones prop would you want and why? That's going to be our cold open question for today, so we'll come back to that at the end of the episode. Yeah. What Indiana Jones prop would you want and why? It's a good one.
I like it. Yeah.
Your local video store card.
A comic book in your back pocket.
Games with no tutorials.
Music you had to discover.
And drinking water straight from the hose.
These are the things us millennials remember fondly. We are the Jennings brothers.
Join us after the streetlights come on
as we race our bikes from the top of the hill
right down memory lane.
Exchange those quarters because this podcast takes tokens.
Welcome back to This Podcast Takes Tokens. We are continuing our Blockbuster Summer Rewind and talking big movies. Yes, actual movies, the original films that your parents brought back down from Blockbuster Video and smashed into your VCR if you believe in that sort of thing. Didn't you ever go to Sunday school? Look, we're two millennials who took these fragmented memories and put them into a podcast where when the recording is over, we put that podcast on platforms like Spotify and YouTube, where it'll stay for many years. And if you don't know by now, we're talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones movie. Released June 12th, 1981, with a big budget of $18 million and grossing $248 million domestically, $389 million worldwide, starring Harrison Ford as the titular character, Karen Allen as the love interest, Paul Friedman as the fiendish Belloc, and the legendary John Rhys-Davies as Indy's friend Sala. Indiana Jones, also, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes. Great movie.
Yes.
Love it. So John Rhys-Davies, he also known as Gimli in the Lord of the Rings movies. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and he was famous for that. One of my favorite shows growing up, Sliders. Played the professor.
I never watched Sliders. Oh my gosh.
Never watched Sliders? Oh man, I put that on the list.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll have to get on there and start watching some.
I'm surprised you never watched Sliders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Indiana Jones. I don't know. This is I keep saying Indiana Jones, but really this one's called Raiders of the Lost Ark. They did not give it that Indiana Jones title until the second one.
Yep.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Again, I just want to call it Indiana Jones.
I know. It's like that's like Star Wars. Like, wasn't it originally called? No, I guess maybe. No, maybe
it was originally called Star Wars.
Well, yeah, it was just Star Wars, and then they added the New Hope. So I guess it's not exactly like Star Wars, but yeah, everybody.
In reverse.
We've always known this as Indiana Jones.
That's right.
The first Indiana Jones movie. Oh, well, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
June 12th. I was about a month old whenever this movie came out.
I was not alive yet, so there's that.
You were like negative many years.
Yes.
Yes, Indiana Jones. Yeah, great movie. Alfred Molina makes an appearance at the beginning in one of probably his first movies. Young Alfred Molina. That was great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I liked him as just the sleazy little guy.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know until after I watched the Spider-Man 2 where he played Doc Ock, and then went back and watched Raiders again for whatever reason after that. Then I was like, oh man, that's Doc Ock. I mean, I didn't know him as Alfred Molina at that point either, but Spider-Man's what brought him into my mind, and then expanded from there. But then going back, it was like, oh yeah, he was in this movie and this other movie, and so I think this was one of his first ones. Oh, I was looking at his IMDb. He did a couple other things before that, but nothing big. And then he was like in his late 20s when he did this. Like, he doesn't look like it. Yeah.
Okay.
He looks like he looks like early 20s, but yeah, he's late 20s.
You know,
so
this movie, and I've said this about a couple of the other movies that we've watched, but a phenomenal opening scene and just a fantastic reveal for Indy. You see his back as he just kind of walks up, and then the gun cocks, and then the whip shoots out, and just spectacular. I love watching this, and I love watching the first, I love watching the whole thing, but the first 15 minutes are just great.
Speaking of that opening scene, they line up the Paramount Mountains with the logo and the mountains in the background. That's a great shot. Mm-hmm. Then you also have, like you're talking about Indy there, not really facing camera.
Yep.
Kind of like getting these shadowy shots, kind of establishing him and he's coming off as very fearless and determined, and just like this adventurer that you has he's the hero. You just know he's the hero based on the way that they're showing him. And I think it's that guy that he whips the gun out of his hand. That actor playing the actor Vic Tablan. I looked this up on IMDb because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, and later on there's another character and I'm like, this guy looks really familiar. He played both. One of those little henchmen in the beginning. I think it's the one that gets the gun knocked out of his... I'm pretty sure it's the one that gets the gun knocked out of his hand. And the guy with the monkey later on. It's the same guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'm wondering... Yeah. And I thought, does he come back? And, he's got the monkey and he's trying... And, he's just continuing. But it's actually two different characters.
Okay.
So it's not the same guy. It's just... the same guy playing two different characters. I guess they were like, well, nobody will ever know the difference. I mean, they got a budget of... What did we say? $18 million or something like that?
I mean, in 81, though, that's... But,
it's decent. But they were using some characters for sure.
Sure.
Today's money, this would have easily been $100 million.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd be curious to know what they spent on The Dial of Destiny, being the newest one.
Oh, yeah. We could go look it up, but who's got time?
Who's got time?
Maybe whenever we do. Did you get to see The Dial of Destiny?
No, I have not watched this one yet.
This year, whenever you go to sit down and watch and do your annual revisit of the Burbs, just do Dial of Destiny instead. Do yourself a favor. Or maybe one of the Ghostbusters or something, get yourself caught up on something modern.
I can't replace the Burbs, but I was going to watch it on our flight when we went down to Disney.
Okay.
And I had it on my iPad. I had it downloaded and ready to go. But then, you're on the plane, and I was tired because I think our flight took off at 5 a.m. and we live...
Oh, those are the worst.
Yeah. And we live for 2 hours from the airport. So Mindy and I had not slept at all since the morning before, and I just slept on the plane. I was so tired. And then on the way back, I was still tired. So I slept on the plane, so I didn't end up watching it.
I can't sleep on planes. I mean, I can fall asleep on a plane, but I can't stay asleep, and it's definitely not comfortable.
Yeah.
But, if you can, good for you.
Yeah. When you're tired, man, when you haven't slept in, over 24 hours.
You make it work wherever you can.
Any port in a storm.
Yeah. So back to the movie.
Yeah.
Indy's got I don't know if this one kind of answers itself or not. So he pulls out that little bag and he fills it with sand. And he goes in and he's kind of looking at the idol and he's thinking about it, and he kind of pours a little sand out, and Alpha Merlina's over there and he's all like, oh, which one? And then he flips it over and he replaces the idol with a bag of sand. It happens supposedly he's figured out that it weighs exactly the right amount. But I guess it doesn't, because it goes down and it triggers the mechanism. So, I guess I didn't really think about this until, I guess, just now. Watching it before, I always thought, oh yeah, he figured out the perfect weight and put it on there. But no, he didn't. He actually screwed that up.
Yep.
Which is, if you think about the character throughout the movies, he's constantly taking all these risks that rarely pan off, but he figures it out along the way anyways.
He's a man of great luck, is what he is.
Great luck, good and bad.
Yes. But I had noticed, so this scene when, he places, he takes the idol, and when the ball, the classic scene, like it's been reused in so many things. I remember them reusing it in the Muppet Babies cartoon when I was growing up.
Yes.
And that ball is rolling, but I didn't notice it until this time watching it, that if Indy just would have stood in place, that ball would have rolled right over his head and just kept on going.
I've thought about this, and I thought the same thing the first ever. I probably had the same thought several times watching it, where I'm like, well, just let the ball roll over, and then you're good, right? But then I remember, the ball actually blocks the exit at the end.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
So he wouldn't be able to get out.
Yeah.
But then I think about it some more, and I'm like, but there's light coming in from everywhere.
Everywhere.
Couldn't he have just climbed out of one of these, I guess, windows or slots or whatever that all this light's pouring in? Because that thing is well lit. Like, light is just pouring in from every angle. In fact, they use light to set off one of the traps. It triggers, the arrows. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, the mechanical mind in me is wondering, how does that even work?
I know.
In, ancient times?
Yeah.
How do they... What light sensor technology could you possibly have?
So at night, is it just shooting? Constantly?
It's just constantly firing arrows.
Yes.
Yeah. Or some animal. I mean, how many arrows does it have in its quiver anyways? Eventually it's got to, and it's clearly hit some folks along the way, so it's got to run out at some point.
Yeah.
I guess it's one of those ancient mysteries that we just best left alone. But so he bungled the weight transfer. He's kind of throughout the movie not having the best of luck, but also getting really lucky and getting away with a lot of this stuff. But man, just a great movie.
Oh man,
just a great movie. I can't.
You're right. It's so good, and I think that it's one of those movies that I will watch over and over again. It is really good, and I watched it. I watched it with Landon years ago. He didn't want to watch it this time, but I did watch it with Harper for the first time, and I told her in advance. I told her about the ending. Because I said there's some stuff with faces melting and things, and I don't want you to be scared. If you're scared by it, just kind of look at me or whatever. And when that ended, she looks over at me and she's like, "Daddy, that wasn't scary at all." I said, "Okay, that's good.
We're good.
That's good. Yeah, we're good." But yeah, she loved it, and I think that's the thing. Yeah. This movie, it really captures just gives entertainment to every age. I think it's for all ages. It's just really well done, and you can watch it at 8 and you can watch it at 108, and you're still going to just have a good time watching it, and it's good. I would say that of the series, of course I haven't watched Dial of Destiny, but this is my favorite one.
I think most people, this is their favorite one.
Yeah.
I want to meet the person who says the second is their favorite one.
Oh, no, yeah. I've heard a few people say that they like Last Crusade, and that's fair. That's fair. Last Crusade, you got Sean Connery, it's good.
Oh, yes. Last Crusade I liked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've heard people say that it's their favorite. And
okay.
Our buddy Ian that was on here for the Twister episode, I think Last Crusade is his favorite. But yeah, nobody has Temple of Doom as their favorite, and nobody has Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls as their favorite. If we're wrong, let us know in the comments. But
Temple of Doom or Crystal Skull, which is probably your least favorite? If you had to give one up.
Temple of Doom, hands down. Because of what's her name. She's just Short Round's great, but and I don't even think it's her fault. It's the way her character's written. It's just she's so just
annoying.
I don't know. Yeah, and they really should have brought Mary. Well, I know it was a prequel. I guess Temple of Doom was a prequel, but
they kind of they made that like after they called it a prequel after the fact. Like I don't think it came out as a prequel.
Yeah,
like it was supposed to be a sequel.
Okay,
but wasn't she like Spielberg's girlfriend or something like that? Like that's how she got the role.
Maybe I don't know.
I may be talking out out of turn there, but I'm
sorry,
I
Stephen.
think there was some nepotism going on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I really wish because Marion wasn't in. She wasn't in the third one either. No. And they brought her back for Kingdom of Crystal Skulls, and but the thing that I didn't, not to steer away from Raiders is what we're supposed to be talking about, but like, they've really, again, I haven't watched Dial of Destiny, but it seems like they've really just, I didn't like in Kingdom of Crystal Skulls where they made Indy just this broody, like, his life didn't go how he wanted to, and he's just grumpy, and I don't know, it's just this whole trend they have with sequels that they make later, and they make these our heroes.
Is it the
heroic,
trend of sequels, or is it Harrison Ford? Because he was kind of the same way in the new Star Wars movies too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe it is Harrison Ford. I don't know.
I mean, you think about the old men. You got like Harrison Ford and Clint Eastwood. Just grumpy old men.
Just grumpy old men. Yeah. That's what.
Can we do Grumpy Old Men as a remake with those two? Because I would love to see that.
I would buy that. I would buy tickets to that. Yes, I would go watch it.
Oh man, no, like, but yeah, let's bring it back to Raiders of the Lost Ark here. Speaking of Marion, like she's introduced running this. Is she running the bar? Or is she working at the bar? I can't.
She owns the bar. It was her father's, and then
that's right.
He died, and she owns it. Gosh, I love Marion.
Yes.
She's just great.
She's a great character.
Yes.
I mean, in the beginning, I feel like she comes off as a bit of a a petulant child. I want to say just a little bratty, but that I feel like that wears away pretty quick, and we're left with just this like strong female character. That I really wish they would have continued on with the other. It's a shame that she didn't come back until much later in the film series. But it was great having her in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like that was a great addition there, and she was great in Dial of Destiny. Dial of Destiny I feel like was better than Kingdom and was better than the second one,
Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom, thank you. And as far as Last Crusade, it might tie that. I think I'd put Last Crusade higher just because Sean Connery was great. And you get a little more Indy backstory. River Phoenix, you get the backstory. Yeah. Which was fun. But no, so when was the first time you remember watching this movie?
I bet it was at our Aunt Kathy's. I feel like that's become a trend with a lot of this stuff. For our listeners out there, we have very fond memories of doing things with our Aunt Kathy. She's a great aunt.
Yes.
And
exposed us to a lot of great things.
Yes. Still enjoy spending time with her. She's fantastic. But yeah, I think it was over at her place because her and Linda had
a massive collection of movies.
A massive library of yeah. So
What about you? Probably honestly, the first time I really sat down and watched the whole movie, I was probably 20. Before that, maybe clips here and there that I can barely remember, and even whenever, because I watched it, I'm 20. This is 2001. And hanging out with some friends, and we're still doing like video store rentals and stuff like that. And there's a video store around the corner from my apartment that did like cheap rentals, like I think 99 cents for like old movies and stuff like that. So we would go on like a Friday and rent like 5 or 10 movies, VHS.
Those are great memories doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come home, order a pizza or pick up a pizza on the way home. And then just like spend the night watching movies until we couldn't keep our eyes open or the sun came up or whatever. And then sleep for a few hours and wake up and continue watching those movies and just spend the weekend watching through like 10 movies.
Yeah.
And it was in that, like, somebody was like, oh, we should watch Raiders. And I was like, I've never watched it. I don't really care to watch it. It looks kind of boring to me. And we sat down and watched it. And I was like, oh, this is a fantastic movie. Why have I been sleeping on this movie?
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's been on one of my favorite movies for sure. I've seen it at least every year since then.
You know, I feel like for me, even if I'm on the edge about a movie, like, I don't know, I'm going to use War Horse, for instance. When I see that it's got Spielberg that is directing it, I'm like, okay. I don't care how I think this movie is going to go, how I think I'm going to feel about this movie. I'm just going to watch it because Spielberg has never let me down, and
it'll at least be okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But I remember, like, I love. So we're talking about Marion, and you know, she's got this bar and everything. One of my favorite scenes with her is when the bar is burning. You know, the Nazis have come in. You know, which is there any like more perfect villain than a Nazi?
it's faceless villain.
It
for
is.
Sure.
It is.
And Spielberg loves using them too.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, and that the bullet pierces the not the tankard, but the keg. And before she continues fighting, she puts her head underneath her and takes a drink of the whatever's in there. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that just shows who this character is, you know. It's great. It's great. I love it.
And that's after she spent the night taking 30 shots or something like that with that guy.
Is
that even humanly possible?
It's so funny. And that guy's like, he takes his last drink, and before he sets the glass down, he's smiling, and then he just falls off of it.
Just straight over.
Yes.
I was watching the movie, and I was like, this seems a little far-fetched that she's had this much to drink and she is still this together. Yeah. And I wanted to look it up and figure out what's the most somebody could have to drink before any person could have to drink. And you can't find that. There's no Guinness doesn't do anything on drinking because it's unhealthy and all that, so they don't want to promote that. But I did find one record that was interesting. And it was Andre the Giant is on record of having the most drinks in a period of time. And I want to say it was whoever's listening, if you really want to know, look up Andre the Giant drinking record. It's 120 beers in a 6-hour period or something insane like that. And they said it was one beer every 5 minutes.
I'd be completely on the floor, through the floor, into the topsoil.
Yes,
gone.
That's more than I have in a year. I can't imagine that.
Yes,
that's an insane amount. Yeah, but he was known to have some drinks. In fact, Rob Reiner was very frustrated with him on the set of Princess Bride because he kept, after they'd wrap shooting, he would take Mandy Patinkin and Carl Ewings. Did I say that right? Ewings, yeah. And they go out to the bars and just be drinking and trying to keep up with him, and he's just drinking up a storm. Yeah, because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
And they would all come back, or those two would come back the next day just hungover and unable to work, and he's just laughing and having a good time. But Andre the Giant, he was quite the drinker. He was.
So could he beat Marion?
I think he could. I think he could take Marion. I think he could take her for sure. I don't think we can fit. Corey Feldman into this movie. He was too young, maybe.
Yeah.
He would have been 5 or 6, something
Probably.
like that.
Yeah. I don't remember there being any kids in the movie at all.
No, I can't think of any kids. No.
Sorry, Corey.
No.
You're still welcome on the show.
Yeah,
Anytime you wanna
absolutely.
go.
I mean, yeah, maybe he's Indy's long lost son. I don't know.
Hey, there we go. They could have had him. Well, no, maybe he would have been too old. But I don't know. Instead of Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
Anybody could have been better there.
Yeah.
And then, like, okay, so that scene where he's the professor, like, well, I guess he is. He's always the professor.
Yeah.
But whenever he goes back to the school and he kind of like goes back into his daily routine, he's, you know, doing the professor stuff like that. There's a switch in the character. Like, he goes from being like this adventurous, like rough and tumble guy to this just like, you know, down to business, very academic, smart, and which I gotta say, looking back on Harrison Ford's career, and I don't want to, looking at it because I don't want to say just back, like he's still got some life in him.
Oh yeah, he's still doing stuff.
Yeah, looking at his career, especially around this time, like 80s and 90s, he played a lot of smart guys and played it well. He plays a smart guy well.
He does.
Especially like a smart guy that can handle himself. Like the, was it Clear and Present Danger whenever he was doing those movies?
Yep.
Yeah.
The Fugitive.
The Fugitive, yeah. Air Force One.
Yep.
Even, you know, smart guy for sure. Like, he plays it well. And it's believable from him, I should say, is what it is. It's believable from him. But yeah, so like, he's doing the smart, or the professor thing, and there's that one girl who's written on her eyelids.
I knew this would
I
come
love
up.
you. What is that?
That's great. And it throws him off. It throws him off because he looks.
It threw us all off.
And he looks, and he stops, and then he tries to pick back up, and then she does it again. It's just it's so comical.
It's so funny. Yes. Yeah. But I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say on the other part of that.
Sorry.
Yeah, like, no, that's fine. That whole bit, you know, that was great. Like, he gets academic, and I'm here for it. I enjoyed it.
I think that's where his really. I think like he likes his adventuring, but I really think like that's where Indy's heart is at. Is just in the just learning and preserving history, because he's always like, you know, we got to get this, because like when he's talking about what were they talking about? It was before the government came and talked to them about the Ark. Whatever the Ark. Oh, it was that the idol that he lost. He was telling.
Oh yeah.
What is his like his mentor's name? I can't remember what that guy's name is now. But you know, he's telling him like, "Oh, this belongs in a museum." Like, you know, it's always about like, we got to go get this, and it needs to be in a museum. And even after
preserve history,
they have the Ark. Yeah, when he's telling the government at the end of the movie, like, this needs to be in a museum. You know, it belongs in a museum. And but he's, you know, that's I think that's who he is. And then the adventurer side is just kind of a.
It's what needs to be done.
That, I guess, a little bit. Yeah.
Not that it's evil, but it's the necessary part of him, I guess. The necessary brute. I don't, not evil, but you know, brute or whatever. Soldier. Was he a soldier before all this, you think? Like, did he? Because he seems like he has training.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
in some
he
facility.
sure seems like he does, doesn't he? Yeah.
I don't know that if any of the other movies they mention whether or not he served or trained in any particular way. But I can't imagine the college is like, you know, handing out arms lessons and hand-to-hand combat and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But he seems to have either just picked it up pretty naturally, I suppose.
Yeah.
I guess maybe it was like in, what was it, in 3, we get the backstory of Rivers Phoenix a little bit, and he's in like the Boy Scouts or whatever, so maybe that's where it comes from.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So do you know? I'm sure you know, and I'm sure most of our audience knows, but I think
I know what you're gonna say.
What's that?
You go ahead. I know what it is.
All right. I think Harrison Ford owes a debt, or a debt of gratitude. I hope he at least sent over a bottle of thanks to Tom Selleck for not being able to do this movie because he was busy with Magnum PI.
That's
Tom Selleck
not
was
what I
first.
thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
Oh.
He was the first choice.
I did not know that. Wow. Well, I learned something new today.
Yeah. Rumor has it he got busy. He got Magnum PI, and he couldn't get out of the contract for that. He was busy with that, so he was doing Magnum PI, and they came to Harrison Ford, fresh off of the Star Wars movies, and Harrison Ford's our man now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
So that's a little fun fact for me.
I thought you were going to touch on the gunfight in Cairo, or the lack thereof.
Oh, that was great.
Do you know what I'm talking? Yeah. Do you know the story behind that?
No, I can imagine Grumpy Old Man came into play.
Yeah. So what had happened? So I thought you knew this, and I guess you thought I knew the other thing. So maybe our listeners, I'm sure there's some that know this, some that don't. But that scene where Indy is in the alley or in the street, I guess, and there's all the people around, and there's that guy that's garbed in like the black turban and all that stuff, and he's got the sword, and he's swinging it around and everything. That was supposed to be a sword fight. That whole scene was. Indy, of course, just looks over and just shoots from the hip and kills the guy. The reason they did that is because Harrison Ford had got dysentery while they were shooting, and he was sicker than a dog that day, and he couldn't do the sword fight, so he just did that. They just had him do that. Just
I had heard it before.
Scene.
I forgot about the dysentery part. I had heard it before, and I was remembering that they were in rehearsals for it, and Harrison turned to Spielberg and just goes, "What if I just shoot the guy, and we done. We wrap this scene up real quick." And he's like, "Yeah, that's great. Let's do it that way." And so they ended up going with that. But yeah, the dysentery adds a little layer to it. That's probably why.
That really though, that for as silly as that story is, that encapsulates like Marion taking the drink. That to me encapsulates what Indy is. Like, he's like, this guy's probably I can't beat him in a sword fight, but I can beat him in a gunfight. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and that I think that we would have. I feel like we would be missing something and not know what it is if we didn't have that. If he would have gone and done a sword fight, it wouldn't have felt right. It would have felt like maybe a little too much in his quiver of weapons as far as like what he's able to do. It's like, okay, now he can sword fight too. That's a little like. So yeah, I think that was definitely the right call as far as like improvisations go in filmmaking. That goes up there in the tops, definitely. But then he takes on that big guy on the plane, like.
But he gets the snot beat out of him though.
Yeah, but he goes toe to toe and goes for a while, goes a few rounds.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Until I think he outsmarted him.
Oh, he did absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's throwing sand in, because he gets to the point where he's throwing sand in his eyes, and he's fighting dirty at that point because he can't.
He's looking for anything.
Who's going to beat this guy? Yeah, this guy is.
Yeah, because that guy was taking.
This guy is big. Yeah. Have you? I think, so you've been to Disney? Did you?
Yeah.
Did you watch the Indiana Jones? Like the stunt stuff that they have there at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Yes,
I did the live show
and reenact that
and I
scene.
did the ride.
Oh,
yeah.
What's the ride? They didn't have that when I was there. Or maybe
there's a ride. The ride is in, I believe, Disneyland, and the show is in Disney World, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
because we've been to both. I get them confused all the time, but one of them's got the show and one of them's got the ride. And the ride is really fun. And I want to say that's Disneyland because that's the last one we went to, and we did the ride on our last trip. But yeah, the ride is really fun. It's you're kind of in like a Jeep mobile thing, and you're going through like some caves, and you're kind of like on an adventure with Indy, or maybe it was like a train car. like a mine cart. I can't remember. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's still there. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you ever make it out to Disneyland, yeah, check it out.
Tell them we
For
sent
sure.
you. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, yeah. So speaking of the planes,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of just like on the planes, I've never flown on one of those old, like, I guess it's biplane. It's got the 2 engines, right? The 2 propeller engines. They call that a biplane, I believe. Or no, biplane is the one that's got the 2 wings. So the one with the 2 engines, I think that's just a plane. But, you know, it's got the prop engines, the 2 propeller engines.
Yeah.
So I've never ridden on one like that. I've never even been near one like that. But they're loud. They establish that they're loud on the outside because you can barely talk over them. I can't imagine flying on a plane like that back then. That had to be really loud inside that plane. And like,
yeah.
I'm sure there's no thermal break between you and the outside. So if it's cold out there, it's probably cold inside. Or if it's hot on the tarmac, it's probably hot in the plane. It does not seem like the most comfortable ride. However, I will say the seats look a lot more comfortable than they do now. And I would take one of those seats.
Yeah. Now that's something, this movie excels at how they present travel. It's so simple.
Yes.
It's the map, and then just like a ghost behind the map is the plane, and you've got that red line that hits little dots and just makes little moves and angles, and it's so satisfying to watch.
But you can only go so far.
Yeah.
And then you got to stop and refuel or whatever. It must have taken forever to get wherever he was going.
Oh, yeah.
Which I saw
imagine.
something on that map, and they were saying that like the map wasn't accurate, that the map was like an 80 or a 70s map, and it wasn't a map of the time. Like at the time, a lot of the places were named something else. So next time you're watching it with your history-loving wife, maybe point that out to her. Or ask her if those are correct for the time. Yeah. Well, what were you going to say? You were going to say something before I interrupted you so rudely.
Oh, I was just going to say, I thought the stage show for Indiana Jones at Disney World was really fun. They've got a lot of explosions and just, you know, I don't know. It's really well done. They over embellish some of the scenes that they're trying to recreate just to make them a little more action packed for the show.
Yeah.
But,
and you got to project to the back
watch.
seats too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I remember whenever we went, that was because we've been to Disneyland, and then we did Disney World, and then we did Disneyland again. And that was Disney World. So that was the second time we'd been to the Disneys. And Bruce got really into Indiana Jones for a little bit because of that. Like, he really enjoyed it, and we got him, they had, like, in the souvenir shop, like, a little hat and, like, whip thing that you could get. And so we got him that, and he was rolling around Disney with that for the whole day and wanted to wear it everywhere, and definitely had a great time with it. So stage show is solid for sure.
Yeah. It's good. It's
so
really good.
So they go, we're gonna get back into the movie a little bit now. So they go and they're after the Ark of the Covenant, like trying to find it and everything, and he's got the staff that's got to be so high to reach to the right height for the light to shine through it. He figures out how high that's got to be. Does he take into account? I've always wondered, as a bit of a technical minded person, the height of the staff, does that take into account the slot that the staff goes into and the slot that the headpiece goes on to it with? Because that headpiece has to overhang it a little bit, right? I would assume so. The length that they pull, is that from the bottom of the headpiece to the top of the hole, or is that the entire length of the staff and it's just so happens to fit in both those holes just right?
Yeah.
I was wondering.
I don't know.
It's probably not something we can answer here.
No. But he got it right though. he
He did.
right.
He got it right. And I found it funny that, like, he's like, oh, they're digging in the wrong spot because they didn't take back the 2 for the fathoms or whatever it was for the measurement. And then he goes into that room and there's clearly a hole that they've cleared out to put their staff in. And he counts to a certain point and clears it out and then does like a different, and like puts it in a different hole. So was their staff wrong and they picked the wrong hole? Like,
I was a little puzzled by that myself. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not alone there. All right. I thought that I was the only one that picked up on that.
Yeah. No, I was a little puzzled by it too, but, you know, it's one of those things I'm like, he found it, and
Yeah.
I think the thing is, like, that is probably my favorite scene, so maybe I have a hard time overlooking that, but that, and then, you know, that whole section of that movie where he's in the Well of Souls, and then they throw him, or they throw him and Marion into that pit, or they keep him in there with all the snakes and everything, and I don't know, I just like that whole thing. And
which they lock him in there, and then they're like, okay, we need to get out of here. How are we going to get out? And he looks over at the wall, the really tall wall with the holes a few feet off the ground. Like, they're not little cracks at the bottom. These are holes towards the top, and there are snakes just pouring out of this hole.
Oh, just
like
pouring
somebody's
out.
back there just shoving them through. Yeah, and he's like, oh, we're going to go through that wall. My mind would have been like, oh, there's a flood of snakes behind that wall. I am not going through that wall.
Yeah.
But then they break it down, and there's no snakes back there. I'm surprised. I thought for sure there was just going to be a bunch of snakes behind there. No snakes.
And there's
a bunch of dead people.
But there's clearly an exit. There's light shining. So I'm like,
yes.
How bad are these Nazis are terrible archaeologists, you know, or like excavationers or whatever they are. And I guess that makes sense because they're stupid enough to be, they're Nazis searching for a Jewish relic to use, you know, so I don't know.
That is an excellent point. In their crusade against the Judaism as a whole, they're using, they thought that they would use this weapon of God designed to protect the Jews.
Yes.
It's just a crazy thought. Which I guess that kind of answers, I had a question, which that kind of answers, like, later on, they got the Ark in the box, and it's on the boat, and right before the Nazis track him down and board, the Nazi logo burns off the front of the box. And I thought, oh, is that the Ark trying to hide itself, trying to camouflage itself? As if, like, you know, so it can't be discovered by them whenever they get on there. But then they get on the boat and they open the doors, and it's the only thing in the room, so I think that was necessarily what it was doing. I don't know why it burned the logo off. Maybe it just hated Nazis that much.
I think it was, like, again, like a more symbolic of it's protecting the Jewish people, you know, or whatever. Like there's clearly this you know, this regime that wants to destroy them, and that's just me looking into it, as, you know, it doesn't outright say it in the movie, but, you know.
Yeah, they definitely skate the line of using religion I can't think of the word, iconography, and outright being religious with it. So it's just kind of like, it's just like this nice little balance of, like, it's not religious, but we're gonna kind of, it's here, we're gonna use it a little bit, like you know, like there's a bit of finger of God at play, but not necessarily God, or however you want to look at it. Like, it can be interpreted in many different ways, I feel like. And that's a great, being able to pull that off is a great balance in any movie.
And I think that's what makes this movie, and I'd say Last Crusade, a little more believable. They're not quite as far-fetched, I guess, because it does skate that line of, it's grounding it in like history, you know what I mean? Like with Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, like you've got aliens and
Jump the shark,
whatever. Yeah, and then Temple of Doom, you've got the whole guy pulling hearts out of chests and stuff like that, and but I don't know. This movie seems a little more. It's science fiction clearly, but it seems a little more grounded than the other ones do.
And I think that's the key, is it's grounded. And then that goes back to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, some things that people had. Like, I think like the 2, maybe 3 things that people had the biggest problem with were, Shia LaBeouf, the alien aspect of it all, and the not keeping it grounded, as far as like he escapes a nuclear blast in a refrigerator box. Those things that like are just a little, like they just took it one step too far. Like it's just a little too far. Like if the alien thing would have been, you didn't have to show the alien. It could have been like, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Like we're not 100% sure. I think that's the key to the good Indiana Jones stories, is the mystery and keeping the mystery alive and not revealing your hand at the end of the movie. Like you don't have to tie a knot or tie a bow on every single thread. Just leave some stuff for the audience to kind of like ponder or be open to or whatever. Yeah. But I think that's the problem they had on those 2 for sure, is, well, Kingdom for sure was just too, it was a bridge too far, and they tried to explain everything too much.
Yep. But, it was too hard sci-fi, but anyway. Yeah.
But so they eventually, they got the box, or they got the Ark of the Covenant. The Nazis get a hold of it, and they march it all the way. Did they have to take it to the island, or why did they take it to the island again? I forgot why they took it to the island. I know they were testing it before they
took it there to test it.
The excuse was, would you...
Yeah.
To test it, yeah. But I think it was more like Belloc was being a little selfish. He wanted that power for himself. I don't think he would have... Oh, sure. I don't think he was going to hand it over to Hitler. I think he was going to take that for himself. That was like,
I kind of liked Belloc. I know he wasn't a straight shooter by any stretch of the imagination.
He's a villain for sure, but he's a good villain.
But he was almost like an anti-hero, I guess, a little bit. Like, I don't think he never really wanted to kill Indy. I don't think, like, he didn't even want to put Marion in that pit. It was the other guy that wanted to, and he was trying to protect her, and I did like him. I was a little disappointed that he died, because I think he would have been kind of a fun villain to just kind of keep as a little thread, kind of a thorn in Indy's side through the whole series. Would have been kind of fun to see that.
I don't think he has that. He doesn't really have that, does he? Like a returning villain.
Yeah,
I guess the Nazis in general, the Nazis in general, because I think they come back for Dial of Destiny as well, and that they're the villains in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too, right? They're Nazis, I believe so.
Or I think they are. I think you're right. Yeah.
I haven't watched that one
in a while. It's been a while since I've watched that one. I own it, but that's one I don't really put in.
Doesn't come up much in the rewatch.
Yeah.
I'm not at that point on my desert island yet, but
exactly.
So I guess the Nazis are kind of his perpetual enemy. He's always fighting there. But yeah, Belloc was a good enemy. He was other than him being a Nazi, and then with that, I really think you could have told this story from his side. Like you said, he's kind of a bit of an anti-hero. If he was aligned with somebody a little more central, not as extreme, you could definitely tell this story from either side, and it would work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think
what did you
Indiana
think
Jones
about that scene at the end with all I guess it's electricity, the power of God or whatever, just shooting out. Faces are melting. It's just.
Well, they said the Ark of the Covenant is a what do you say? The Ark of the Covenant is a conduit, a direct channel, a direct line to the ear of God, or something along those lines. Which I gotta say, that's a really expensive long distance phone call to give your life for.
Oh yeah.
But that was
definitely.
I mean, that was great. It was great. I mean, even the melting of the faces, not special effects wise looking the best, even for the time. It was a little bit cartoonish, but I mean, it's fine. I'm okay with it. It works.
Yeah,
I have no problem with it. I think it's even now, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, my kids are like, oh, that looks really bad. Like blah blah blah. They should have used CGI. Well, they didn't have CGI at the time. So
they didn't have it back then. Yeah, this is what they had. They had wax that they could melt.
For practical effects, it was good, right? Like you make it and tell me and do it better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired of these snot-nosed punks telling me my old movies look bad.
That's right.
Now I'm the grumpy.
I know they look bad, and dang it, we appreciated them.
Yeah. Well, I liked it. They look good. I can appreciate it. That's right. I appreciate it. But yeah, how about you? I thought it was great. What did you think of it all? Clearly
I loved it. I love it. It's satisfying to see just all the Nazis just get it, and I don't know. That's what it is. It's just seeing some Nazis just get it,
melting.
Yes, melting Nazis, and take that.
Do you think, I'm going to back it up a little bit to the very beginning, whenever he grabs that medallion that's on fire and it sears into his hand, how likely do you think you are that you could get that impression and pull something usable off of that? I don't know if you've ever been burned before, but it rarely comes out looking like a clean,
perfect
like you're gonna lose
impression.
You're gonna lose some detail for sure. And that print looked fairly small. Yeah, I imagine it would have just been like mess on his hand. I don't think it would have been that perfect little. Yeah. But again, we're gonna suspend disbelief and we're gonna go with it. It worked.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I was watching the movie, and as I'm watching it, I'm like thinking kind of critically of it because we're getting ready for the podcast, and so I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking forward on it as I'm watching it. I'm like, oh yeah, how did they get the lid back on it? Like, how did Indy get the lid back on it? And I'm watching it, and the lid just like it falls perfectly, plunk. Yep. Just lands on it and knocks it down, locks it down. And I was like, oh, okay, well that answers that question. And then they just, somebody came along and collected it and carried it off to the big warehouse in the sky, wherever they keep those things at, whatever the government collection, which is a huge warehouse of just like random, I guess, oddities or whatever's in there.
I think that's just the perfect ending, though.
Absolutely.
Indy is just like, telling them, like, or he's saying they don't know what they have, or whatever. They know what they have. Clearly they've got this whole warehouse full of stuff. Yeah. And that is one thing. Yeah. One thing that I did like that we keep harping back to it, and I'm sorry, people, but one thing Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls did well is in that warehouse scene, you get to see the Ark again. I don't know if you remember that. There's like the box gets cracked and you see the Ark. You're like, oh yeah, it's still there.
Yeah. Which that whole bit with the big warehouse and everything, that goes back to good mystery, leaving a little bit of mystery on the table for the audience. So we're not buttoning it up. We're just gonna put this on the table. And we're gonna let you do with it whatever you would. And again, whenever Kingdom of the Crystal Skull comes around and they show it again, they don't. They do leave it alone. Thank God. They don't try and like explain everything on it. They just show us what it is, and then they move on with their day. And speaking of the warehouse, did you ever see the show on Sci-Fi Network, Warehouse 13?
No.
I don't remember. I don't think it was I don't think it was based entirely on this, but I'll give you the quick premise. Is essentially it's a warehouse like this that the government has, that has all these, like, I don't know, supernatural or otherworldly or mystical items that have, like, powers imbued on them. And there's, like, a team of government agents, like a few of them, that it's their job, like they're undercover secret agents, like they have, like, you know, this is obviously not public, and their job is to protect this warehouse and go and track down other objects and contain them in this warehouse. And it's kind of like Ghostbusters meets Indiana Jones. It was a lot of fun. It went on for a couple seasons. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I recommend checking it out. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. But I was just curious if you'd seen it. I think it spun out of Eureka. It was along that same time frame.
Yeah.
Along those same lines. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think I've seen it
let's
like
not bring that up.
advertised on Netflix or something like that, or like, you know, in your little tiles or whatever. So I'm gonna check that out.
That's fun. I enjoyed it. It ends kind of it's one of those shows that's like, it's only got like 3 seasons, and you can clearly tell why it's only got like 3 or 4 seasons. Like the first 1 or 2 are really good, and then the second one they kind of like try and mix it up a little bit, and then by the third one you're like, okay, or the fourth one you're like, I can see why it fell apart, or it starts falling apart too quick, and you're like, okay, it's over, we're good. But that was fun. And the warehouse reminded me of it, and I just wanted to bring it up. So do you have a favorite scene from the movie? Was it the whip and gun scene?
It was the it's the Well of Souls. It's you know, just when they're I don't know, it's just because it's that whole Egyptian thing that's always kind of fun, you know, kind of like with the mummy and, you know, all that. And I don't know, something about that is very, like, harkens back to just, like, I don't know, that's very just adventurous, you know, to go and, like, you're in this old, like, tomb and you're trying to find your way out, you know. I don't know, I just like that a lot. What about you?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I think for me it was it's right before that. It's whenever he finds because he thought that he lost Marion. Like there's that car explosion in Cairo there, and he thinks that she's in the car or truck or whatever whenever it explodes, and he thought she was dead. And then whenever he comes across her at the dig site and learns that she's actually still alive, and, you know, they're reunited and everything like that, and he's like, oh, but I can't take you away just yet because they'll know that I'm here, and I need a little more time, so you're going to have to sit still. And she's like, what? And then he gags her back and, like, you know, heads out. And then it's on her to try and escape herself, and she does, but not successfully. But that was probably one of my favorite parts. Is around there. That was that whole bit there, and then, like, whenever he thinks he loses her, and then he meets with Belloc, and he's like, okay, well, we'll just end it right here, and he pulls the gun on him or whatever, and then, like, all the other guys pull the guns, and then suddenly all the kids run in, and they're like, Uncle Indy, and then, like, drag him out and everything. It was great. Which I always wondered, did he plan that, or was that Sala that did that for him? I think it was Sala that did that for him.
It had to have been him. Yeah, I can't imagine Indy having that planned.
Yeah.
But see, I thought
it's not in his
I thought
character
that
for
they
sure.
No. I didn't think that they sold Marion's death that well, because, like, that thing tipped over, it blew up, and it was just kind of like, oh, Marion. And then, like, the next scene, it's like, you know, everything's like, and I don't know.
I'm going to continue on. I agree. They didn't sell. I mean, but I guess, like, with the trailer, you really couldn't, because I think they showed her later on, and because they resolve it fairly quickly. So I don't think they're trying to convince the audience that she's died. I think they're just like, you know, this is just we're gonna go through this beat pretty quickly, or maybe they were, and then they tested the footage and they're like, this doesn't work. It doesn't sell. So we'll skip through it. Like maybe there's more to it, but I don't. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't sell to the audience, and it barely sells to Indy.
Yeah,
he doesn't seem as broken up as you would think he would.
Right.
But yeah, then we get to it pretty quick and it moves on. So I suppose there's that.
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts on Indiana before we move on?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I don't really think we've touched on just about everything, but it's a great movie. It's a great movie. I'm glad that we watched it again. I feel like we're getting back on a roll of hitting these movies that, we hit a low point with The Mask. I know we had some people that
just
commented and said they enjoyed it, but it's just like we're going uphill again. And that's me. Like, I don't know. I think I liked it way less than you did. That's just how
I
it
still
goes.
didn't like it that much. It's definitely not coming back up again for me anytime soon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so would you rather rewatch The Mask or Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
Oh man, don't ask me that. I'd watch Kingdom again.
Yeah, I think I'd watch Kingdom again before I watch The Mask.
Yeah.
Or even the second one, Temple of Doom, I'd watch again before I'd watch The Mask.
Definitely.
Anyways, that's all I got, and we can take us out of here.
Next week we're going to be doing Jurassic Park. We are going to be wrapping up with a nice little bow our summer series of Blockbuster Summer Movie Rewind, I think is what we called it.
Blockbuster Summer Movie Rewind conclusion.
Yes. Jurassic
to be concluded.
Park. Another Steven Spielberg movie. So
we've got a lot of Spielbergs on here.
Yeah, Spielberg's great. He's great.
Great.
So with that, we've reached another checkpoint. Remember, sharing is caring. Reviews help a lot. Please leave us a review. Please comment. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, we'll see you again. And be kind and rewind.
See y'all.
This Podcast Takes Tokens is a Clay Street production.
All right. Well, our cold open question this week was, what indie prop would you want and why? If you can have any prop from the movie. I don't know if I want to limit it to just this movie. I think I'm going to limit it to just this movie. If you can have any prop from just this movie, what would it be and why?
Oh, his hat. His hat is iconic. It's so cool. And I just want to wear it.
Right.
I have one similar to it. But it's not.
Okay.
It's not as good. I want that hat.
I feel like the hat comes up a lot for people. Like most people, I bet it's the hat or the whip, maybe. I'm gonna go with. I want the golden idol. I think that just look really cool.
I thought about that too. Yeah,
up on the shelf somewhere. Yeah.
Do you want to go through what you have to get it?
Well, no, for sure not. I mean, either the golden idol or the medallion. Like one of those two, I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
Maybe even. Oh man, I'm all over the map. I mean, okay, it would be the medallion for sure. But if I'm gonna throw out like a couple others, like there's the medallion, there's also there's the golden idol, or maybe his notebook, like his field notebook. That would be kind of a cool thing to go through.
Oh yeah, that would be cool to see that. Yeah. I'm changing my answer. Field notebook.
Field notebook. All right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I made a change there. All right.
Yeah,
okay, so we got some comments actually on our YouTube, which is doing really well. The YouTube I've been pretty pleased with. We're getting lots of good views. Not that many subscribes, but that's fine. You know, the views are really where it counts. Views and shares and subscribes would be really nice. But so we got some comments on them. I'm gonna start with a kind of a big one.
Okay.
We got a comment on our Lost episode. from Will Ford 81. Says John Locke was my favorite character, and I hated what the writers did to him.
Yes.
Ryan, I agree with your retconning of Locke. That would have been a much, much better. I love the show, especially in the beginning, but it did start to really frustrate me as it went on. I remember being disappointed when certain mysteries were explained, or even more disappointed when others were never explained at all. I remember back when I watched the show and something new would be introduced, like the statue with 4 toes, and thinking, they're never going to explain this. That being said, the show had a lot going for it. It's like a really long episode of The Twilight Zone, which is my favorite show ever. Great episode, guys. Well, thanks, Will.
Thanks, Will. Yeah, we appreciate it. Happy
So,
that you're listening and interacting with us.
What was your retconning on Locke there? I can't remember.
It was that he died, but he died fighting the smoke monster, and he killed the smoke monster, saving the island in the process.
Okay.
But he died at the same time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I remember that now. I agree. I remember being frustrated with that show. It comes back to what we were talking about with Indy. You got to leave some mystery on the table.
Yep.
And they tried to explain away. They tried to over-explain way too much. And yeah, they left a lot of things untouched. Like they just dropped things completely. I don't remember the statue with 4 toes.
It was underwater. I
vaguely recall
think
a statue.
Yeah. I remember. I can see it, but I can't remember. Where. I remember it being underwater. I just don't remember what season that was in, or what the.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I agree with you, Will. So, and thanks for watching. We appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
It was a good episode. It was a lot of fun episode for sure. That was one of our.
Yeah.
That was one of the episodes we look back on and we're like, that was a lot of fun. We got to do more episodes like that. So yeah, that was. I'm with you, Will. Moving on. Will's back. Will Ford, 81. Gave us a little comment on our Twister episode. Just a very short comment. He says, "Well, that episode did not suck." Which at first I took a little offense to, but then I got the joke. Yes, it's a Twister episode. That episode did not suck.
No, it didn't.
We were not stuck in the suck zone.
Yes.
Yes. So that was a lot of fun. The Mummy. We had a comment from at J. Vion Dixons, I think. Vion at J. Vion Dixons, 2119. I probably butchered that name to the market and back, but sorry. That is what it is. Keep it simple. J. 2119. There we go. Anyways. Jay says he's referring to our intro because he marks at 1:13, a minute and 13 seconds. Anybody who's watching this, not listening to it, if you're watching on YouTube, I recently edited together a small intro to go over our theme music, if you will. And it's just a little video montage of some of our favorite things. I plan to tweak it and add to it as we go along, but for right now, it's a good little placeholder. And he's referring to it, and he says, these are some of my favorite movies: Jurassic Park, The Mummy, and The Mummy Returns. Smiley faces. Because at one point we pan across some old VHSs.
Sure.
Which is funny, because we covered The Mummy, and we're going to be covering Jurassic Park next episode. So I thought that was pretty funny.
How about that?
He made that comment.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think Mission Impossible was in there, and a couple others we've done. In fact, I think that little shot ended up covering most of our summer Blockbuster Rewind movies, which I filmed months ago before we even started doing this. So
that's been a while
it's just
back.
Funny that worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Will Ford 81 also had a comment on our Mummy episode, and this is a good one. I think you'll appreciate this. For the sheer absurdity of it, I'm casting Corey Feldman as the Mummy, but I want him to play him totally off character. Imagine the volatility and angst-filled character of Feldman's Teddy from Stand By Me. That I would pay to see. Side note,
Yes.
while I don't like when directors go back and add new characters and scenes to old films, I'm all for going back and redoing this bad CGI. This CGI
So
was bad even before its time. Go back and look at The Abyss. Those water effects still look good today, and that was in 1989. Great job as always, guys. Love the podcast. Well, thank you. Will.
Thanks,
I would
man.
agree.
Yeah.
That's one movie that I would give the exemption for. Yes, go back and redo the CGI for me, please.
Yes.
We need a what is it, a master cut or a recut of The Mummy?
with Feldman in there.
Yeah, we can work Feldman in there for sure.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
That's not a problem. Do we have any problematic actors that we can just like write out?
Right.
Let's see here. What else we got? So we got some more comments. I'm going to save a couple of these for our next episode because,
Sure. Yeah.
well, while you folks at home may not realize it, but we actually took, when was that, Mark? We actually took a couple weeks off, and we had some personal things going on, so we recorded 2 episodes back to back before that, and then this time we're recording this episode and the next episode back to back so that we can get them out on our schedule. Not a problem. So we got some comments that piled up, and if I get to these a little out of order, well, I'm sorry, but we'll get to them on the next one. I'm gonna tackle a couple more, and then we'll move on and do our recording for Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
The Mask. We got a few comments on The Mask. Dr. Bojangles 105 says, as a kid,
yes.
100% it's The Mask. Yeah, I think he's referring to his favorite Jim Carrey movies. Or she.
Oh yeah.
She could be a doctor. As a kid, 100% it's The Mask. Well, okay. I could see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. As a kid, those movies 100% appealed. But he says, he continues, but Eternal Sunshine is probably one of the best serious movies. That said, Man on the Moon is also amazing. Well, I appreciate you agreeing with us. Yeah, I think that's a good consensus from most people. Growing up, and I think we touched on this whenever we were talking about The Mask, and that is Jim Carrey grows with us. Like, I feel like he's an actor whose career grew with us, and his movies grew in their seriousness, if you will. And I would agree.
Yeah. I think that's completely right. And like I said when we were recording that Jim Carrey just has such a great catalog of movies, and he has such good range. He's got comedy, he's got drama. It's great. Yeah, something for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, something for everybody. So we have another comment on regarding The Mask, and they ask, why the clickbait AI cover? I didn't feel like the cover that I did for this one was clickbaity. Did you?
I didn't. I didn't think so. But sorry if it was. I guess.
Sorry if you felt like you were deceived there. Yeah, I mean
we deceived you into listening to a great podcast.
That's right.
Hopefully.
For those of you who maybe have not seen the podcast art I do podcast art for each episode. Each episode is different. It kind of goes along with the theme of the episode. Well, it goes along with the theme of the episode. And for this particular one, I asked AI to generate me a couple of podcasters interviewing The Mask. And it generated this image of 2 podcasters interviewing a character who kind of looks like Jim Carrey in The Mask, except for the head is squared. I don't know why it did it in like this weird trapezoidal square shape,
has a
but
sack
it did.
on his head. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a sack. Yeah, like a wooden sack or something. But it worked, and I was like, yeah, okay, that works.
Yeah.
I put our name on the bottom in the mask, trying to match the font, if you will, that they use for the title. I felt like that. I didn't feel like that was clickbaity. We talked about The Mask. We didn't interview Jim Carrey. Maybe that's what he's referring to. We did not interview Jim Carrey.
Maybe.
I don't think Jim Carrey does that many interviews nowadays.
I don't think so.
That could just
I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, we'd love to interview Jim. If you want to come on the show, we will.
Yeah,
totally
come on the show. Absolutely. But so that's interesting. And then somebody else replied to that same comment. I don't know, because in YouTube, whenever you reply to a comment, it doesn't nest under, like, if you reply to a comment, if you reply to a reply of a comment, it doesn't continually nest down. It just nests one level. So they all kind of get mixed in together after the initial comment. But somebody else replied on that comment, it's cringe. I don't know if they're referring to my art or the movie. Maybe they're referring to The Mask itself. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I don't know.
Peanut Butter Dijonnaise says it's cringe. And if you're referring to The Mask, I would agree.
Yes, absolutely.
It is definitely cringe.
Yes, it is.
One last comment before we roll out. That is a Spotify comment we got on our Dragon Warrior episode. And this is from Dustin INCF. Dustin INCF says he's referring to the question we have posted on Spotify under the Dragon Warrior. Each episode, as you know, has a different question. We asked, "What's your favorite RPG?" He replied with, I'm guessing Dustin is he? Yeah, it's a he. Replied with, "Final Fantasy VII will always have a special place in my heart, but I'd have to say, Chrono Trigger takes my favorite spot. It's truly a perfect game." I have never played Chrono Trigger. Have you?
It's good. Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. I was in high school when I played it, and I didn't play it on the SNES. I actually played it. They did a remaster on PS1, and they added like some videos and stuff to it. You know, like some anime style videos to enhance the story, and it's a lot of fun. A lot of time travel and stuff like that, and it's cool.
It's an RPG?
Yeah.
I don't know why I imagine... I must be conflating this with a different game. I'm thinking of the arcade cabinet game, Shooter, where you have like the little foot pedal to hide or to pop up from behind things and shoot people, and then you release the foot pedal and your character ducks back down behind things to find cover. Do you know which one I'm talking about there?
Oh, yeah. Time Crisis. Is that what you're thinking of? No.
Time Crisis, probably.
Is that Time Crisis?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I can't remember the name of it, but I was thinking of that whenever he said Chrono Trigger, but obviously it's an RPG because we're talking about RPGs, and that just shows that I've never played Chrono Trigger, but maybe I'll have to check it out. I didn't know it went back to Super NES, you said?
Yeah, that was originally released. If you want to buy it affordably, you will probably need to get the PlayStation version of it, and that's still steep, but the SNES version, you're looking at like several $100s to buy a physical copy of it. Yeah.
I bet I could find a digital copy somewhere. Like, I bet they've re-released it so many times.
Yeah. It's on mobile, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe there.
Yep.
All right.
It's fun.
Well, that's all the comments we're going to address for this week's episode. We'll save a few for next week's episode when we're back with Jurassic Park.
Yep.
So, stay tuned, and we'll come back to that later.
See you then.